Little Tommy is only 13, but you wouldn't believe some of the things that he's seen, some of the places that he's been. August 1916, far too young and much too keen, this little boy, just barely a teen, became a little boy soldier. And this child, so ardent for some desperate glory, mind and heart muddled by some age-old story of dulce et decorum est pro patria mori, do you think he ever dreamed that glory could be so gory? That he'd see his friends die with their guts torn to shreds or missing an eye or half of their head? That he'd come to know the crunch of bones beneath his tread or wake every morning to the stench of the dead? Did he fuck? How could anyone know of that hell where youth and laughter go? But he went. And that's only the beginning of our tale, because this particular little Tommy prevailed to die another day and become the oh-so-tragic hero in this epic saga of a play. Take the strain. That's what his sergeant used to say, as the deadly rain of steel and fire filled the air and the sun faded away. He used to think it was all a game. And the poor little fucker can hardly be blamed when you take into account his schoolmaster's claim that it's all just a giant rugger match. But Tommy was quick to realize the catch, that this game would have no winners and very few rules. It would be played with bullets and not with balls. The captains of the team were incompetent fools, but there was no escape. No going back to school. And he wept, and he cried, and he bottled it all up inside until he snapped and was wild-eyed, raving mad, screaming for his mother and begging for his dad. And the only solace this little soldier boy had was a cold slap to the face and the immortal words, "Pull yourself together, lad." And he did, the best that he could. He did all the things a good soldier boy should. He lived in mud and he slept on wood, and he did as he was told, and for hours he stood in the pouring rain. And he never complained, despite the frostbite and the rat bites and the excruciating pain. He took the strain. He faced things that had driven many a full-grown man insane, and he took them all in his stride. And when the last of his fast-formed friends had died, he just sighed and picked up his gun and swore to himself that he would kill 1,000 Hun, starting that day with number 1. And he took aim, and he pulled on his trigger again and again, and he watched a grey man fall. And all he felt was numb. But looking up, he saw 1,000 more grey men coming towards him at a run, and he again picked up his gun, intent on fighting for his life, for his home and his former friends and his imagined future wife. And my God, did he fight, like only a cornered animal can. And the bullets, they flew, and the blood, it ran, until little Tommy made his final stand with an empty rifle and one last grenade clutched tightly in his hand. And he chucked his grenade, watched it land with a thud, watched it sink into the mud. And he waited, and he waited, and he waited. The grenade was a dud. Little Tommy was captured that day, forced at bayonet point from the trench where he lay exhausted and confused. And he was abused, beaten, battered, and bruised, but he survived. He survived where millions of others died. And he made it back home, and he went back to school, and he met his imagined future wife, and they lived a perfectly ordinary life. And that's where little Tommy's story ends. Well, not quite. Skip forward 100 years to 2016. Little Tommy is only 13, and he's learning all about the horrors his great-great-grandfather would have seen. He thinks it's obscene. He is not at all keen. But a school trip to Belgium was too much to resist. Sneaking into the girls' bedrooms and sneakily getting pissed, it's not to be missed. Lions led by donkeys. That's what his teacher said as they gazed up at the men in gate with the names of the dead. Fucking idiots, mumbled Tommy. They should have stayed at home instead. Have some respect, hissed the teacher. Can you imagine if that was you? Can you imagine the things those young men saw, the things they had to do? Mate, it was like 1,000,000 years ago, said Tommy. I haven't got a clue. Well, maybe that's true, said the teacher. Perhaps a trip to the trenches will give you a different point of view. And to the trenches they went. To the very same trenches, in fact, to which Tommy's great-great-grandfather Tommy had been sent. And there they spent some time playing childish games of war with little thought for the horror or the slaughter, the unimaginable gore, what it was all for. And they were soon bored. Tommy's teacher produced a ball, explained the history, explained the plan, kicked it into no man's land, and after it they ran, until little Tommy tripped and fell into a hole gouged by a long exploded shell, and what he saw there made him yell. A grenade, dull yet shining metallic through the mud, and with reverence Tommy picked it up and wiped off a century's worth of crud. And it turns out, little Tommy's grenade was not, after all these years, a dud. Cheers.